Let's work. Yo, it's go time, showtime, never backing down time. One shot, yo, make it count, yo. Crunch time, shine time, make this moment my time. Get a grip, yo. Ready, set, go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder. Let's go. Yeah, it's my time, yo time. Step into the spotlight. Get lit, yo. Let yourself go. Our time, high time. Gotta go big time. This is it, yo. Never take no fight time. Grind time. Take it to the street time. Turn the roof off. Get loco. Game time, win time. We gon' bring it home time. No regrets now. Let it all go. We bring the thunder. Bring the thunder. Let's work. Bring the thunder.
Well, good evening and welcome to Mountain Bears. I'm Aeson, and of course with me now is the techie with the most, and it's my little cubby. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you this evening?
Oh, getting more and more ready to move somewhere.
Is that where we're at?
We are at that point in life where it's like, well, Ron DeSantis is, unfortunately forcing his medical board to bow to him and his, shall we call it, Nazi propaganda, and then moving along onto that little map there, forcing teenagers to, that want to continue their transition, they will have to leave the state of Florida or go onto a registry and be forced into transition.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of a lot going on there. Like we were because it's been a wild few weeks, so we were talking about this one at dinner. I don't know how hard it is for people to get the idea that, because I don't think it's that hard, is that for the most part, minus the general obvious, the difference between male and female children pre-puberty and the reason that puberty blockers are so important for kids who are at least showing signs that they will transition is the fact that if you stop puberty before it happens, you create better outcomes for the future adult who's, as a child, avoided the early puberty growth and changes. Because once the hormones hit and the changes start, you kind of light a fuse and it makes transitioning harder later. And creates, a larger opportunity for body dysmorphia long term.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know why that one's so hard to follow. The generally puberty blockers are considered safe. I mean, are they thus? I mean, you could almost get into a debate there. Like, are they as safe as not doing puberty blockers? No. There's a risk. Generally, it's considered an acceptable risk. If I remember correctly, those kids are monitored heavily,
right,
for those risks, because you can inadvertently set off some issues with that.
Right.
You can do that with a lot of medications. Like there's a lot of men over 50 who would love to be on testosterone.
Right.
But if they take it, they're going to develop prostate cancer really quickly.
Exactly.
So sometimes you have to make your choices.
Well, here's the thing. These choices aren't the government's to make. They're the child. The next step is the parents.
Well, and I'm just going to go out on a limb because I haven't gotten to read the article exactly. Are they going out on that lovely limb of this is a form of child abuse?
they're going out on that lovely limb of, you know, delaying puberty boxes could harm future you know, not only it's not looking at the harm that they could be doing, they're looking at, you know, oh, you know, they don't know what they're doing, it could, you know, stop the, you know, have problematics that you didn't even hear. They came up with all this fake science.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it's not like this just suddenly fell into our
Mhm.
national vocabulary like 5 minutes ago, and like,
Right.
oh my God, the first trans kid just showed up and wanted puberty blockers,
Yeah.
a drug that we had to create in 5 minutes in the back of the lab. It was great.
Right.
Like, you know, this is like we're down a road
Right.
in terms of, like, you know, safety trials and understanding risks and making these choices and doing them in concert with a therapist and making sure that we set, you know, trans kids
Mhm.
today up to be successful adults tomorrow.
Right.
However that ends up being, like, if
Right.
they, you know, think they are trans today,
Mhm.
if they believe themselves to be trans today, doing the best that we can to make sure that whether or not they eventually transition,
Right.
that they do so as safely as possible.
Right.
And it's no, it's not entirely 100% without risk.
Right.
I would argue there's a lot of, you know, what some would argue, you know, well, cis women
Mhm.
who are leading great lives
Mhm.
until the puberty hits,
Right.
and then suddenly they end up in like a pico spiral.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, some of that's a problem.
Yeah.
Like the hormones hit, cancer hits.
Right.
Hormones hit, and, you know, a host of problems start.
Right. And then the
Uh,
additional effects. Eleven
mhm,
thousand dollars in surgery to have body hair removal.
mhm.
Possibly, you know, spending more to get your voice to be what you believe your voice should sound like, and having to fly to Korea for that.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Like transitioning as an adult,
Right.
without a puberty plus plan.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, that's what I'm going to call it, is the puberty plus plan.
Right.
Is that, like, as in, like, knowing this before puberty or very early at the early stages,
Right.
and being able to slow or stop
Mm-hmm.
where your body would, as a cisgendered individual, progress to.
Right. Now, if you are viewing us on YouTube, I mean on Facebook, you see a link there. Please click it and go there, because it's most likely we're going to lose our stream on Facebook tonight. On the topic
Probably.
we're covering, we will probably lose our stream. Just
Every time
FYI.
we say the word trans, we get a problem.
But see, here's the bigger problem: is now therapists are denying and counseling care for trans youth in the state of Florida.
Because of the risk it's posing them right now?
Yes.
Okay. And that's a double whammy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, the immediate effect, of course, for those who are already, like, started down a road,
Mm-hmm.
this is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But then it goes one step further, and it's like, okay, but then you're most likely removing support for individuals that would even help with that.
Right.
That's a nightmare situation. But much like the West Virginia opioid epidemic.
Right.
So
what are families having to do? They're going to have to leave Florida. They're going. If you love your children, you want to reduce the possibility of your child committing suicide, you are going to have to leave Florida.
Yeah. Hell, fuck it. Come to West Virginia. Make it 2%.
Yeah.
Make it 2% of our population.
We've got remote.
We don't have a problem
You'll get paid to move here if you can work remote from your job.
Like, Like, I'm sorry, I think it's going to take a state having a sizable trans population
Mm-hmm.
to finally beat this into someone's head,
Mm-hmm.
how this is all going to become a disaster if you keep down this road.
Right.
Currently, West Virginia is the strangely trans capital of the world.
Right.
Well, excuse me, of the United States. I keep wanting to say trans capital of the world, but the trans capital of the United States, where we have a 1% trans population,
Right.
which is, for most places, kind of a surprising number.
Yeah.
That's like, I mean, even I had to, the first time I heard that, I did a head snap, like, what?
Yeah.
Like, how did we, like, I'm not, like, that, and that was not a squeamish because I'm like, oh my God, trans people, ew. That was me going, of all the, like things that don't go together,
Mm-hmm.
my first thought was, like, West Virginia and being trans. Spicy combo there.
Well, no, I
Not
would
sure
think
that I would
of Columbus being the capital of gay America, the second capital, the capital of Eastern gay America.
Yeah, really. Like Columbus.
Yeah.
Like DC, I would have gotten. Miami, I would get. You know,
Yeah.
like Orlando, I would get.
Yeah.
New York, I would get. Lots of places in the world I would get, but like, we made it as far as Ohio. We decided to settle here and create a bathhouse.
Right.
Like, I mean,
yeah. But no, families need to choose and move.
It's sort of
probably
like
have
where
till the
the
beginning of the year before your child's health care is affected.
Yeah. Well, so basically, it's for Columbus, it's sort of like, you know, the equivalent of like the Mormons traveling and getting as far as Salt Lake and being like, we'll set up here.
Right.
Like, this as far as we're going.
Well,
we're done.
The territory is, but while we are not the friendliest state, while we may not be at least they will have other identifying members in community. They will have resources that the community has developed over time for us. San Francisco, Seattle have great medical programs. And, like I tell my clients, we are 6 hours from everything.
We are, and it's kind of wild when you stop and think about that. Like, it can be 6 really long, treacherous hours depending upon the time of year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, because it would be more than that. Like, can you imagine trying to get to DC from here?
Yes, it's 6 hours.
In the middle of winter. That's more like 9 to 10.
Again, you stick on 81, you take 81 over to 420.
Real slow.
Real slow. But they keep the interstate going. But no, I saw this, and I saw the death end. And it's in the bottom of the article. They talk about the death end.
Oh, the die-in. But so before the meeting got going, members of the trans and non-conforming community and supporters protested right outside. They hosted a die-in, draping the pastel pink, baby blue, and white trans pride flag over their bodies.
Yep.
They lay under the makeshift gravestones that listed their causes of death as various risk factors trans people experience, such as being taken from their families, outed, experiencing depression and substance abuse. Multiple gravestones read denied care.
Yes. So let's put this on equal footing. The state of Florida is denying your child diabetic care. That's how serious this is.
Yeah. Well, I'm wondering. I'm like, because part of me wants to sit here and go, I think if you deny a diabetic child, because that would be diabetes type 1, typically. Typically, that I would think that would work out to an almost 100% death rate.
Right.
Now, just on suicide alone, unsupported trans death rate is about 50%. Right. If I remember correctly. I think it's like I want to say it's like 49 point something.
Right.
So it's almost a 50 like it's literally a coin flip
Mm-hmm.
of, or it's right there basically is what I'm saying. For unsupported trans kids, and that's what Florida just did, is they removed supports for trans kids. The state of Florida and Ron DeSantis are now responsible for this coin toss for
Right.
each of your trans kids in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that's where I'm at. Like, you just up their odds.
Right.
Of, yeah. Because we've gone into this, is like supported trans kids, or, well, supported LGBTQ individuals in general. I believe that rate is about 50%. I think it actually jumps higher for trans kids.
Yeah.
So I correct myself there. But because we did the whole infographic, if these kids are properly supported, that risk level drops to the national teen suicide rate.
Right.
From like 50+%, whatever, like 50% for LGBTQ as a group, and then whatever it is for trans kids, drops immediately with support.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're talking basics.
Yeah.
Hi, I hear you. You exist. You're not crazy. You're not ugly. You're not stupid. You're not wrong. And if any trans person is watching that hasn't heard that, hi, there you go. You're not crazy. You're not stupid. You're not wrong. You're not disgusting. You are not a lot of things that people will tell you. And I'm sorry that they're assholes. That's it. That's the support.
Right.
Having someone at least in their life going, hi, you are not a monster.
Right. You're not afraid.
Drops that suicide risk down into the 0.01 something, I believe, category.
Right.
As in, it is less than 1%.
Right.
We go from 50+% to less than 1%, and that's all they need to hear.
Right.
That's it. That's
yeah.
That's like, first, I love you as you are, whoever that may be. I respect your pronouns. And that's support. That's it. That's what that looks like.
Yeah.
It's not hard. I respect your name choice.
Right.
That's it. Like, it is not like moving a mountain.
Right.
It is being there while they move it.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
I don't know why we have to make it hard.
I don't know why we have to literally go to this point. I don't understand why a governor and his health board is in between the care between a parent, a child, a counselor, and a doctor.
Well, and especially
that does not even have effects on the body long term.
Well, and especially, hey Gwen.
Hi Gwen.
And especially a conservative. That's what kills me. Conservatives. Y'all are all about like parents' choice when you're denying sexual health education. You're all about parents' choice when banning books. You're all about parents' choices when you're talking about school enrollment, whether you're talking voucher system or charter schools, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anti-vaccination, you're down with parent choice on that one. You're down with parent choice on whether or not, those kids got vaccinated for the panini. You are down with parent choice for a lot of things.
Right.
And then you show up here in a situation where parents are making choices in conjunction with their child about the best needs of their child.
Right.
For their care.
Right.
And you show up here and go, no, not like that.
Right. And this is a medication that has no known irreversible effects of puberty on the body. If you decide to stop taking it, your body goes through puberty just the way it would have if you had taken puberty blockers at all.
If you had never taken them at all.
Right.
Oh, goodness.
Hi,
Hey,
Catherine.
Brenda.
How's Shannon?
Hey,
Hi,
Shannon.
Brenda. Hi, Lady Gwen. Sorry, guys. I've been hot and heated all damn day.
Yeah, you
Watching
know.
this
Hey,
debate
Shannon.
was infuriating.
Oh yeah, it is infuriating. And sadly, we thought arguing over bathrooms was bad, or arguing about trans youth in sports,
Right.
which really apparently all they really care about are trans women playing on teams with cisgendered women.
Well, that's because the governor doesn't want his girls at Greenbrier County to get beat by some Midland Trail girls.
Well, but
Sorry.
I'm talking. Well, no, I'm talking about
I'll
the
call it as it is.
whole country.
I know, but I'll call
Like
it as it is. Those Midland
yeah.
Trail girls are fucking mean. They were mean when I was in high school. They took one of their football girls, put our quarterback in the hospital because she was in a mood.
Fair.
Okay, so
Fair.
that's his, and she's cisgendered. So that's his thing, is he doesn't want his little football girls to lose some more. So he goes and tortures our children.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that's Jim Justice for you. But anyhow.
In a nutshell, yes.
In a nutshell. So where do we want to go next? Because, all of these topics are going to get us.
Well, in lighter news, because I think that's our most severe article of the evening, isn't it? Like, that's the hot topic one.
That's the hot topic.
Yeah.
So, Jerry, I found this one interesting. You brought up a topic I did not know.
What?
Jerry Lee Lewis, U.S. rock and roller, died at 87, and you made a comment about it, and I was like, what? And I had to go look it up, and you're true.
Yeah. I said, God, pedophiles last forever.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm sorry, married his 13-year-old cousin once removed, claimed she was 15. He was 22 at the time.
And she was 13.
Yeah, it was a scandal. Huge scandal.
Yep.
Like, if you wonder why Jerry, because I'll give him credit, he was a good musician. But if you wondered why his career wasn't more, this hit hard. Hard in 1958.
Right.
Like, it knocked him out of a tour.
Right.
Like, they shut it down. Like, I think his career suffered for a good couple of years before it got back on track.
Right.
And a lot of people have not forgotten it.
Right.
Like, a fair number of people are like, oh, yeah, Jerry Lee Lewis and Jerry's Kids. Which, there have been enough jokes about that.
Right.
And some serious controversies out of that, and some very serious moments of like, holy crap, why?
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, there's problems there. But anywho, that was a thing that occurred. But yeah, no. So anyway, moving right along, Jerry Lee Lewis, dead at 87.
Yep. And I'm putting up in a poll to see where we got, because we have more articles than what we want.
Okay.
So you can choose yours, and then I'm going to see what the poll says about the next one.
Oh, okay. Where am I going?
I don't know. What do you want to talk about?
I don't know. I thought that's what you did a poll for.
I'm getting that. And we can take a commercial break.
Okay, let's do that. Alrighty.
All right, so we'll be right back after a commercial break. There's a poll over in the live chat if you want to vote and tell us what you want to hear us talk about.
Only on YouTube.
Only on YouTube.
See you in a few.
Hi, I'm Dottie the Psychic, and I'm sure you're wondering why I'm not wearing any makeup. Well, one reason is to irritate my social media manager, Aeson Knight. Hi, Aeson. The other reason is because I like to get to the naked truth about what it means to be a neurodivergent LGBT person with psychic abilities. I've got vlogs, blogs, and podcasts and videos all related to trying to live my best life and helping witches and bitches do the same thing. So, you can check all that out and get a reading from Dottie the Psychic at DOTTIEthepsychic.com. Safe travel and much profit to you.
Do you have a cute pet? We know you do. Each week, Tracy Vann chooses from submitted photos a featured reader for her Facebook page and provides a tarot reading. Your adorable pet cat, dog, rabbit, goat, chicken, snake, or more could be her next featured reader. Visit tracyvann.com, TracyVann.com, and click Featured Reader to submit. We look forward to seeing your pet next.
Hey everybody, Lady Gwendolyn here, and I am here to tell you how to get in contact with me and a little bit about what I do. I am the High Priestess that works with shadow work to help you grow and heal. And I work with access bars, Reiki, I do power forms. I'm recently getting into crystal healing, sound therapy as well. So you can go to Lady Gwendolyn Healing, that is LadyGwendolynHealing.com. Book your appointment with me. I do in person, I do over the phone, I do over Zoom. We can do that as well. My main goal is to help you grow and heal, because I've been there, I'm still going through it, and I let my strength help guide you. See you soon.
Hey everybody, Natalie here from The Pendulum's Path. If you are in need of guidance, direction, spiritual connection, healing, or more, you have come to the right place. I have worked as a psychic and a medium for over 3 years, connecting people from all over the world with their loved ones, giving them insight and guidance into their current situations, their past healings, their blockages, and what they need to know in order for them to have a better future. It would be my absolute honor if you would come to my website at www.thependulumspath.com. Visit my shop. I have a whole bunch of crystals, oils, balms, mystery boxes, and more. And visit my services. I offer 15-minute, 30-minute, and 60-minute sessions. I also have email readings available if you're not comfortable with the one-on-one session with me, or if you just want to try me out. I encourage you to come visit me at the Pendulum's Path, and let's get you back on the right track today.
All right, we are back. And first, we're going to go Marjorie Taylor Greene because she's in hot water. But apparently, she can't take interviews.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yes.
Apparently.
So, Marjorie Taylor Greene flees local TV interview amid barrage of questions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my. Well, we're back with Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's gone.
I haven't had this happen yet. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, she fled a local Georgia television station after people started calling in to the program to ask questions. The far-right Republican appeared on Night Talk on UCTWV in the northern part of the state, to which viewers call in and ask questions of guests on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Now, I watched this interview, and she didn't get heckled. She got smacked, and I do mean smacked. With questions, a lot of questions that I thought were fair questions. Now, if the interview is unfair, I understand that, but she got called on about the Generation 6 theory. Oh, come on, stop this.
Okay.
The Independent, knock it off.
I know, right? I can't even see the rest of the article. Register for free to continue reading.
Yeah. Well, fine. I'll bring it up elsewhere. That isn't a problem. But anyway, the news anchor was just asking her normal questions like, you said this, you said that. Why are you saying these things? How did you say these things? And she just got up during a commercial break and left.
That's a choice one can make.
Yeah.
But no, like, no, I'm with you. Like, if you're getting called on the carpet for like your personal life,
Mm-hmm.
just your personal life, that
Right.
has nothing to do with anything,
Right.
I can understand leaving an interview.
Right.
If you're getting questions that are truly unfair, like there's no way to answer the question.
Right.
That isn't like you're getting put in that cornered box where there's no legit way to answer these questions and you're intentionally being made to look bad. No
Right.
matter what you say, leave the interview.
Right. And we
But if
get
you're getting
that.
straight up fair questions,
Yeah. You said this. You said that. You said this. What was your involvement in this? How many people have you killed with your rhetoric?
I think that's a fair question.
Right.
I mean, more importantly, it speaks to, do you understand the consequences of your actions?
Mm-hmm.
That this hyperbole
Right.
that you're spitting forth with the rhetoric you're spitting forth,
Mm-hmm.
the problems you're creating,
Right.
the things you're supporting, like January 6th.
Yeah.
Do you understand your role and involvement in that? Or are you still sitting over here like, this was a peaceful protest and I had no involvement, except for, to that one special group of people where I tell them, yes, I was totally behind you 100%.
Right.
Please don't lock me up. Vote for me. Because that's basically how she's played it.
Right. Well, apparently the topic of conversation was some text that Marjorie was sending to Mark Meadows days before January 6th attack, as well as callers calling for callers from the audience regarding her views on abortion. These are normal standard questions in today's time.
Well, especially right now.
Right.
Like, I don't think any politician should expect to be interviewed about anything right now without being asked what their position is on abortion, on Roe v. Wade, on the overturn of Roe v. Wade.
Right.
Like, if you're not prepared to answer that, you're not prepared to be in politics right now.
Right.
Like, there's no way. Like, 4 years ago, you could have been like, this is settled case law.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to get into it. Like, it doesn't have a future, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
That would have been a totally legit answer 4 years ago.
Right.
This cycle, you better be ready to answer that shit.
Right.
You better be ready to answer that shit.
Well, not only that, but you need to be ready to actually take a stand, give the woman their body, and the rights to their body. How in the 23rd, 24th century here, are we even debating this issue of body autonomy? Why is this such a debate anymore? Your body is your body. You can do with it what you choose to do with it. There's nobody else's right to it.
Well, and moreover, how did we end up swinging this far on the issue?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like, I don't think that's a question most people have, but it's one I have. Part of me could almost understand if we wanted to, and I say this very delicately.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying this is what I want or what I believe in. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I could more comfortably fathom the idea
Right.
that we would ban non-medically necessary
Right.
abortion.
Right.
I like, somehow I think we could all wrap our heads around that a little more.
Right.
Than to sit here and look at like, no, we're going to make that 10-year-old have a baby.
Yeah.
What? Like, you're putting both these children,
Right.
like, if that pregnancy makes it to term,
Mm-hmm.
you're putting both those children, the child that is pregnant with a child and the child they are pregnant with at that point,
Right.
if they make it to term, you're putting them both at risk.
You're putting them both at risk. You're putting them both at challenges. You are making them, you're killing two people, possibly.
Yeah, easily.
Easily.
And the sad part is easily, because there is so many risks attached to pregnancy before age 13. Not that 13 is the magic number and like wait till then and then you can totally have a successful pregnancy and it'll be cool. No. Don't ever take that from this.
Here's my problem. We are paying these congressmen enormous amounts of money. They have multiple homes with multiple bedrooms. But yet we have a foster care system that has so many children in it. And they're wanting to put more in it because a 10-year-old can't raise a child. A child cannot raise a child. I'm sorry. I know some teenage moms can do it at 14, 15. I get that. I understand that. And there's a lot of struggles to it. But a 10-year-old, I do not feel safe raising a child.
So no, I don't think anyone should. Like, I don't know how at an age where, because I'm sorry, if I remember 10-year-old girls correctly, and I am talking very cisgender gender norms, but like, someone playing with an easy bake oven and Barbies, not really ready for anything beyond a Betsy Wetsy doll. In terms of raising a child. That's their baby. Yes. Like, no, if this breathes, I cannot understand how you would expect a 10-year-old.
Yeah. So before Congress votes on this, every one of them should have to take in foster children to fill up their fucking mansions.
Yeah.
Unpaid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we shouldn't subsidize that.
Yeah.
No. But then again, I mean, I think in this whole situation, the people who have voted for this, that have been in alignment with this, that have sponsored these bills, I'm sorry, that should be an immediate disqualifier from fostering children, because obviously you don't understand childhood development. You don't understand.
Well, see, that's why I'm pushing for it, because then they have to take classes to educate themselves.
Hey, very valid point. Like, what, instead of endangering children, though, why don't we just make them take the class and then do a report card of how they did?
Well, see, that's why I'm sorry. I think that we should have, we should age gate Congress and the Supreme Court. I also think we should, since, you have to be 37 to run for president, I think you cannot be over 65 to be in Congress. And I think you should only serve 8 years on the dang Supreme Court.
Yeah. No, I'm there for term limits, because at the point in which this is, like, I don't have any respect for the words career politician. I mean, I think some people can do it, but I have real problems with who they are versus who they were.
Right.
Because I think there's a certain point in, like, your career of politics being, 40, 50, 60 years long. You've lost touch.
Right.
Like, you're kind of the last days of Margaret Thatcher at that point.
Right.
Where you've kind of lost the plot. Right. Like, early Margaret Thatcher is actually someone you can get behind and feel really strongly towards. And be like, yeah, she's for the people and she gets it. Like, awesome, Margaret Thatcher.
Right.
Later Margaret Thatcher is like, you've lost it.
Right.
Like, you've lost the plot. You do not know what the hell you're doing anymore. This is all a political stunt to you.
Right.
You are not in the building of the average common person enough to get it anymore.
Right.
Like, you're fighting issues that are well beyond.
Right. Right.
But, and that's kind of where I get it behind the idea of term limits, is that at the point in which you get so far removed, you're done.
Right.
You are of no benefit. Politically, you're of no benefit to society. You cannot possibly understand what you're talking about. And then we talk about politicians, these like career 40, 50 year plus politicians, who don't have a cell phone, who don't have home internet access, who do not own a computer, who have an email address that their assistant prints off and reads to them.
Mm-hmm.
They don't pay their own bills.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you think you can govern?
Right.
When you are like stuck in the 1970s,
Mm-hmm.
and we are 50 years down this road
Mm-hmm.
of technology and advancement in how like the world has completely changed. Like, send them out on the streets to try to live as a normal human being in a suburban house
Mm-hmm.
in where the fuck's a who's it,
Right.
doesn't matter, drop them in any suburb,
Mm-hmm.
and give them normal daily life activities and a reasonable amount of money to do it in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And their brains will explode, because it's like, how do you balance a checkbook?
Right.
And it's like, oh, bless your heart, no one uses those anymore, darling.
Right.
Like, some bills you can't even pay with a check.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't it be a lovely reality TV show to take a 70-year-old senator, drop them in the middle of like suburban, Wisconsin,
Right.
and give them, a debit card
Right.
and $50,000 for a year, and tell them to like go live their life. Like, we'll cut you some slack. We'll get you a tax preparer, and we won't even worry about your property taxes and shit.
Right.
You just have to pay the bills.
Exactly.
You just have to make all this work.
Right. So, but also, our president, I love our president currently. I love it just for his fucking bravado. He was making a speech. And as you know, he's done student loan forgiveness, and if you haven't signed up for it, you need to get your ass onto it.
Well, didn't that get, because they did the beta, basically it was a pre-release. Did that finally go live?
Yeah, that is live. You can apply for student loan forgiveness.
Okay, I thought there was a backtracking, like a hold on that.
The hold on that is the hold of them processing it. You can go ahead and get your registration done.
Okay.
Yeah. So, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't want this because it benefits the American people and might, I don't know, drag some people out of poverty in her county, in her district she's supposed to be representing, that she doesn't even live in.
True.
But, our president said, oh, you don't want that, but you wanted PPP loan forgiveness.
Or more importantly, you received PPP loan forgiveness of what, $100 and some thousand.
Yeah.
And then he followed that on with someone else who got like $2 million forgiven.
Right.
And that also was totally against it.
Right.
And like, I'm totally there for the name and shame on this one. Is like, on one hand, you think you deserve this? Tell me what you did. Tell me what you did with your PPP loan money that qualifies you specifically in that particular loan for forgiveness. Because I think if we actually had to I will forever hate that we basically robo-signed that forgiveness for PPP loans without making any of the people really who received it fully justify a reason.
Right.
What did you do that qualifies you for forgiveness? What did you do economically during a pandemic to qualify you specifically for forgiveness?
Right.
Like, did you keep 50 people employed, fully housed, rent paid on time, able to eat and pay all their utilities during the pandemic?
Right.
If that's what you did, forgive that money. I don't have a problem. You can do that all day long. That is great. That is awesome. You kept so many people employed and functional. You don't even know.
Right.
But if you're talking about like you put that money in an account and left it there,
Mm-hmm.
You paid your stockbroker a few percentage points on buying stock.
Right.
You bought a jet or a second house.
Well, she got $180,000 in business loan forgiveness from the Paycheck Protection Program for corporations that she wasn't on not 6 months before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but she doesn't want to give student loan breaks.
Yeah. She's not. And here's the thing: is somehow we have convinced ourselves, or most of the world has,
right,
that I'm just going to point it out. There's a Republican wet dream of what a business person is,
right.
which, if that person exists, I think they're amazing
right.
and great and wonderful and totally like they should have gotten paycheck
right.
PPP loan forgiveness. I'm there.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like the bulk reality that we've
right.
seen of who actually got the loans.
Right.
And they were not this wet dream, the anti-Reagan Republican, or the anti-Reagan welfare queen.
Right.
The small business owner action figure doll.
Right.
That's what I'm going to call them, the small business action figure doll.
Mm-hmm.
That is like supporting their community and doing all these great things, and they employ 50 people with full benefits,
right,
and massively influence their community.
Mm-hmm.
I'm intentionally acting like a robot because
right.
this is what they talk about.
Right.
That is like this, and no, I'm cool with giving those people a break on the flipping PPP loans. Do it. Cool. Awesome. You did things in your community that had value. The bulk of people who actually got approved for the loans did none of those things.
Exactly. It's like Teddy Cruz. He used his PPE money to pay for his trip to Cancun while people in Texas was dying.
Like, let's go take a trip to Cancun. I don't think you positively helped anyone but yourself.
Right.
And even then, you fucked that up.
Yeah, you couldn't even get out on a private jet. You had to go commercial.
And get caught at the airport. Like, you could. I mean, granted, Eddie Munster is a little hard to disguise unless you actually dress up like Eddie Munster. And then people will think, wow, you look a lot like
that for Halloween.
Well, but like people would be like, wow, you look a lot like Ted Cruz. You can be like, no, I'm in costume. I'm Eddie Munster.
Right.
But no, he couldn't even disguise himself
to
get out of the country.
Right.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Maybe I'll let him have that one just for how badly he screwed up.
Right.
Like, those meddling kids. I'll give him forgiveness for that one. Just like, those meddling kids ruined my trip to Cancun in the middle of a disaster.
Yeah, and blamed his children for it.
Yeah. Whatevs. Like, I'll give him forgiveness just because, wow.
Right.
Like, worth it, but wow. Like, for the American public who found this out about him. Yep, worth the money. He had, how much was it for Ted Cruz?
10 million.
Okay, not worth it. Never mind. Nope, not worth it. Nope. That's the worst deal ever.
Right.
Nope. I want a refund.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ted Cruz needs to pay back his PPP loan.
Yeah, very much so. All right, so, Taylor Swift is in the news, and I'm in a kind of a controversial debate here.
Okay.
All right. When you step on a scale, no matter what the weight is, what does your mind say?
Okay, what?
When you step on a scale, no matter what the weight is showing, what does your mind read it as?
I don't know, a number?
Okay. Your mind doesn't instantly see the word fat?
Not at this point. I'm not even gonna lie. That's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
To get there. No, it's a number.
Mm-hmm.
It's a statistic about the house I live in called myself.
Right.
Like, it's square footage to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, part of me is like, whoa, the square footage I've got over here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I should be selling for millions. It's bad fat jokes. But anyhow, no, I other than like occasional stupid comments like that, no, I really don't go there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's been a lot of work.
Right.
It's a lot of work. And some of that has also been a massive adjustment in my relationship with food to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because that number used to be a lot bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because for many, many years I ate to fill the emotional void inside me.
Right.
That, the lack of satiation that I could get in the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And, eventually one day a Sara Lee cheesecake just didn't do it for me anymore.
Right.
Like, there's a point of depression that you can hit in which Sara Lee just doesn't cover.
Right.
I'll tell you right now, that was my rock bottom, was like 4 Sara Lee cheesecakes, and I still felt depressed.
Right. Well,
I had to
her new video, Taylor Swift, Anti-Hero, shows her on a scale, and she went in there, and the original one showed the scale showing the word fat. It talks about eating disorders and the eating disorder she has battled, but viewers took it as fat phobic.
No, I don't think I would immediately jump to that in that, like, if we're like specifically talking about eating disorders and the body dysmorphia that goes with that, in which that number's just never small enough. Like, no matter how small it gets, when it goes from like 140 to 130, it says fat to you because your mind can't reconcile.
Right.
And when it jumps from 130 to 115, it still doesn't reconcile. And when it drops below 100, it doesn't reconcile.
Right.
And when you are emaciated and in an emergency room hooked up to, IV fluids, barely alive, it still doesn't register that you have become too skinny.
Yeah.
You are dying because of your choices. No, I think that adequately represents like a lot, at least a perspective that one can have of themselves. I think part of me can see where it creates a problem.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, no, in context, I'm okay with it.
Right. Well, but again, fans caught on it and said she was being fat phobic. So she went and edited it on Apple Music.
Quietly.
And YouTube versions. Both of them have edited out that scene where you see the scale. It still shows her stepping on the scales. It still shows her, self-judgment there occurring. But you don't see the word fat on the scale.
I think that's probably better.
Okay.
On some level, I think it's... Again, I think for one group, it probably does make a lot of connection with them for people who do have body dysmorphia and eating disorders that refuse to allow them to see the actual person in the mirror, and they're instead looking into their mind's distorted perspective of a funhouse mirror.
Right.
I think that made a lot of connection with them, but I can also see that, when you're sitting there and you have the body of Taylor Swift, that's not an applicable word. Like, that's not an appropriate descriptor. That becomes insulting across the board.
Right. And I understand that point of view, but I'm thinking, are you not paying attention to the song? Are you not paying attention to what is being shown there? but again, she edited it out under calls
Okay.
for her fans to do so. She apologized. She done this very quietly. It wasn't this big hoopla like sign 100 petitions.
All right.
But my question there is which image is causing hair? Which storyline are we doing here?
Okay.
Okay. And this is what I'm saying about that. She's trying to bring attention to ED, which is eating disorders.
Yeah.
Okay. But people are attacking her for fat phobia, and it's like that's what causes ED.
Well, let's just call it eating disorders.
Okay.
Because otherwise this gets confusing for my own brain.
Okay.
But I don't know that that's necessarily true. That fat phobia inherent. I think it's sometimes part and parcel for some people.
Mm-hmm.
I also think there is a bigger component of like the perspective people have of your body and what you're told about it,
Mm-hmm.
as well as an inability to actually see oneself as they are, not through a warped perspective
Mm-hmm.
that exaggerates what their size of their body is,
Right.
and compares it to some very unrealistic ideals,
Right.
that are very unrealistic.
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, Ally McBeal should never have been a role model for the average woman.
Right.
Like, one, if you look at her medical history, it was not good for her.
No.
Like, it was not healthy. This is not an ideal. This is actually exactly not that.
Right.
Like, some people are that skinny, and they are as healthy as anyone else.
Right.
It is a very limited few
Mm-hmm.
that can be healthy at that size.
Right. But also, do you not think in the gay community we get this same stuff thrown at us over and over and over again?
As in to uphold the body ideal, to the problem the silent problem of eating disorders within the gay community, the body dysmorphia that exists in the gay community. Like, are we talking about all the above, or are we just talking about
all the above? We are talking about the body dysmorphia that's shown in media of the gay community. We are talking about, if you log on to Adam for Adam right now, if you go to any LGBT site that is not specifically designed for the bear community, which is over here, and in that community, it's a little twisted.
Well, it's very twisted in the bear community because most of what you see doesn't even really hit anything other than like twink who ate a donut once.
Well, no, I'm talking about even more so. Okay, so you have the Adam for Adam community over here going, "Oh, you're too fat because I can't see your ribs."
Well, I don't even think it's that. I think we have created like acceptable gay community has a size range somewhere between basically anything under a 26-inch waist.
Right.
Like if you can fit that,
right,
you're acceptable. Anyone else, like you getting a little chunky,
mm-hmm.
and then anything over like a 38,
mm-hmm.
oh my God, you don't exist.
Right.
And we see that played out in brands and fashions. Underwear companies are especially bad.
Anderson Christian, whichever his damn name is.
Yeah, Andrew Christensen. His underwear collection, a 2XL is like a 38.
No, I think it's a 36.
Okay, because I companies that have high traction.
Mm-hmm.
Or Andrew Christian, sorry. And you go look at their sizing, and literally it's a 1-inch differential between large and medium, and medium and small and, extra small and extra, extra small. Like these are 1-inch size increments of waist.
Yeah.
And it's
I'm not
like,
going to show it, but I'm going to go see.
Mhm.
Size guide. Here we go. His biggest is a 38, and that is a 2X.
yeah, that's what I was thinking was the
In
2XL was a
swimwear.
38. Mm-hmm.
In swimwear.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm not even to his size at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's small as a 22
Mm-hmm.
inch waist. 22-inch waist is small.
22-inch waist.
Yep.
A 22 inch waist.
Mm-hmm.
On a man.
Right. Because it's clothes aren't designed for boys.
Well, there's been arguments there that a lot of these companies do favor teenagers for their modeling. That was pointed out with Calvin Klein.
Mm-hmm.
Is that because that was a huge scandal back when that happened, that most Calvin Klein models were underage.
Right.
These sexualized commercials, because they were sexualized commercials.
Right.
It was the Coke commercial times 10.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's the guy drinking the Coke, and all the office ladies are like, watching this construction worker drink a Coke.
Right.
Anyway, if you didn't see that, it's worth seeing. But that was the tone of the commercials for Calvin Klein.
Right.
Is that you were meant to be sexually aroused by this clothing company's commercials.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out that most of the models
are
underage.
Right.
And the sizing to wear the clothes, you pretty much have to be.
Right.
Because most people can't fit this.
Right. And then you have on the other side of this, and this is what pissed me off the other night. So we're on dating apps. Y'all guys know this shit. Dude messages me, and of course I had just posted up a new pic. I think it's the pic. It's one of my newer pics. That's I'm thinner now. And he messages me, and he says, "Can I feed you?" No.
Oh, feeders are the weirdest people on the planet. Feeders and gainers. I'm sorry, I shouldn't say that. I really shouldn't. But having been approached by a few, it's creepy as fuck to me.
Mm-hmm.
It is just the creepiest, weirdest interactions you will ever, I will ever have.
Right.
I would rather someone talk to me about some weird, wild, out there, surgical-based fetish.
Right.
And all the gory details, of doing things on kitchen tables. I can handle that, or could handle that, I believe, better than some of these weird, mind-warped interactions. Because I've had people approach me with that, it's happened.
Oh yeah, people's got nerve. People's got some nerve, don't they? But anyhow.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, I started looking at the imagery on this site, and it's 300 plus, 400 plus. They just keep getting bigger models, which I think is great. But now I've got guys messaging me, who's now at a 38, that I need to leave the app, that I'm no longer part of that. I'm no longer part of that community.
Which is weird.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird because, theoretically, at a 38, technically, at your height and weight, etc., combo, you are still considered overweight. You've fallen out of obese, morbidly obese, I believe. You're just overweight.
Right.
Which, quite frankly, you're within a few pounds of our doctor being like, stop there, please, pump the brakes.
Right.
So, chill. But hey, Devin, but no, it kills me though, the conversations people think are appropriate.
Right.
And the way that they approach it, And
Right.
this isn't the average community either. This is doctors.
Yeah.
You want to talk about a mind fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Take this one on. I quit eating for like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
I lived entirely off of diet sodas.
Mm-hmm.
And every doctor I saw during that time didn't question the fact that I dropped 100 and some pounds
Mm-hmm.
within like 6 months. They didn't
Mhm.
question that.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's red flag number one. If you lose 100 pounds in 6 months, something is wrong. I don't care how much you weigh to start.
Right.
100 pounds in 6 months is a red flag of red flags.
Right.
Something is wrong.
Right.
But instead of having the reaction they should have, which is something is wrong, we need to figure out what's going on and get you appropriate care for whatever's happening.
Right.
I got told, keep up the good work.
Mm-hmm.
Without a clue of how I did this.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you're doing, I literally remember one doctor specifically telling me, whatever you are doing, keep it up.
Uh-huh.
You talk about a moment like later,
Mm-hmm.
many years later, having to unpack that one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had to, like, there was a period there of dealing with one therapist in which we had to unpack my eating problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because I finally had to unpack it.
Mm-hmm.
And be like, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I need to talk this through.
Right.
And we did for a while. Because I had hit the rock bottom of 4 Sara Lee cheesecakes isn't making me feel better anymore.
Right.
So I've got to find a different tactic to deal with, whatever the hell this is.
Right.
And I did, and I went through a lot with that. And part of it was unpacking that moment when you realize that no one actually cared enough to care that I had lost all that weight.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are a few people that did.
Right.
But there were, like, even in the medical community,
right,
the people that are supposedly trained in our health
mm-hmm.
are looking at me losing a tremendous amount of weight very quickly
Mm-hmm.
and not going, pump the brakes. What's going on?
Right.
Like, what are you doing for the weight loss? What are you eating? How are you eating it? When are you eating it?
Right.
What else is going on in your life? Are you on new medications? Did you, like, there's a whole set of diagnostic criteria.
Right.
And it got ignored.
Right. Well, it's like me. And our doctor had to be careful because he knew he was walking a thin line. And super doctor knows when he's walking a thin line.
Hmm?
He says, because I asked him, I said, so how much do I need to lose to get out of morbidly obese? I want to get my sugar down. I want to get my body moving.
Mm-hmm.
Where would you be good with? And he says, well, the books say 180. And I'm like, I've been at 180. I look emaciated. And I start losing body mass. And he says, well, 225 is where I want you at.
That's a legit number.
That's a legit number because I could not get a legit number out of any of my research because I'm muscular.
Well,
I still have my dancer's body with padding.
Well, more importantly, height plus weight does not equal, the system has bugged me for years. Mm-hmm. It does not take into account a lot of differentiation between people.
Right.
I know there are people out there that hate the phrase big boned. I'm just big boned. I have a big structure.
Right.
I've been 180 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what came of the 6 months of not, eating. 3/4 of my collarbone started to be visible.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that was healthy for me.
Right.
That was verging quickly into I'm going to end up dying.
Right.
Because that was a predecessor to a whole, or well, that was commingled with a whole series of stress and anxiety and problems.
Right.
But literally was I shut down. I didn't want food.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was what the magical reason that I lost, that much weight that quickly and got down to 180 pounds in like a year.
Right.
I had hit a point of stress and depression.
Right.
That food did not interest me in the slightest.
Right.
I didn't care if I ate or didn't.
Right.
And I kept throwing back caffeinated sodas to keep moving.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I felt tired, I had something caffeinated.
Right.
I drank multiple pots of coffee a day.
Mm-hmm.
I drank enough like diet soda for a lifetime.
Right.
Over and over, day after day after day after day.
Right.
And no one cared.
Right.
Because I was losing weight and I became fuckable to them. Like, let's talk about the truth. Because I think that's a very valid point to be made in the whole medical health care discussion for fat people.
Right.
And that's what I'm going to call this segment is medical health care discussion for fat people.
Mm-hmm.
You will find a large number of doctors that if they don't find you conventionally attractive, i.e. fuckable, your health care becomes fat care.
Right.
And no matter what you came in for, no matter what's going on, it's going to become about your weight.
Right.
Like you could have all the symptoms of, some god-awful medical disease that practically screams its name in your list of symptoms.
Right.
And they're going to talk to you about your diet, your exercise, whether or not you've are working on a weight loss plan, whether or not you have hit certain fitness targets within that plan. Are you blah, blah, blah? Did you da-da-da? Have you tried this fad diet?
Right.
Like, even the bullshit stuff. Like, have you tried the green... literally had a doctor tell me once, like, you really need to go on the cabbage soup diet, I think was the one, or is the green bean soup. Ugh.
Right.
Ugh. And I did.
Well, yeah, and it's like with me, when I was dancing, I was consuming a 162 count of mini thins a week, living on coffee, nicotine, and Snickers bars, and dancing 8 hours a day and working 8 hours a day. Yeah, I lost weight real quickly. None of my doctors questioned me. None of my doctors questioned me.
No. Now, you put on the same amount of weight in the same time period, you're going to get some questions real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, Shannon was reading an article about a girl who lost the weight her doctors told her she needed to lose to feel better. She lost the weight and come to find out she had a tumor that was cancerous they could have found if they just looked to begin with. Exactly. Like you came in with all the symptoms, you told them all the symptoms that they should have needed to hear to go, hi, let's see what this is.
Right.
I've gotten very hateful with doctors before. Like I hate when I get there when it's like I think I know what's going on, or I've like this is obviously beyond the words fat related problem. Because like I did have cytomegalovirus and Rocky Mountain spotted fever because I went to a doctor. I had a headache, and I mean tremendously bad headache for a good while.
Right.
Went to the doctor. He's basically diagnosed me fat, sent me home, told me to diet and exercise, and it'd go away and I'd feel better.
Right.
Waited a week, went back to the doctor and said, look,
right,
I'm going to end up hurting myself because there's no way the amount of Tylenol and Advil I'm taking to knock this out so that I can work that is dulling the pain enough that I can focus is healthy.
Right. And Devin says that she remembers when she lost 10 pounds in 1 week during chemo. Her doctor freaked out. Oh, I had been telling him over and over, it hurts to eat and it hurts to take a sip of water. Like, God damn, please listen to your patients. Yes.
Yes.
And if your doctor is not listening to you, fire them.
Yeah. Oh, Shannon says my doctor was like, you eat healthy, your numbers look good, except for your weight and blood pressure. And I was just, I have chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. I can't diet anymore, and exercise is going to make me sleep so much I can't function. So what else would you recommend? And he was just, point taken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's sad that but I've seen this as well in dementia care.
Mm-hmm.
And we've made this point before, but I'll make it real quick as I can. The number of doctors that can sit there and tell you not only your diagnosis, but like what your prognosis is, what your condition is going to be like.
Right.
That's standard in the industry. They will sit there and they will tell you these things that this condition causes this and can cause that and can cause this and can cause that. And somehow they can like recite that textbook definition and then apply nothing to the person they're dealing with.
Well, and I have to remind people that doctors are just experimenting. Okay, they're not proven scientists. They are experimenting. It's like when you moved in here, there was a ramp on the front of my porch. I had built it for Dad, and I'm like, well, they're saying 10 years. I may as well leave it on there.
Yeah, well, because you're expecting with the RA to end up in a wheelchair at some point, and they roughly gave you like 10 years before you were going to deteriorate to that point. And that's been how many years ago? Like, when was your 10-year mark? Has it happened yet?
I got to calculate. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I knew I was asking a question.
This year's 10 years.
Okay.
February of 2023 will be 10 years.
Okay. So, yeah. Oh, Brenda says, love my doc. I'm fat. If I've lost weight, he questions what are you eating? What are you doing? How much are you doing? He makes sure I'm being healthy and safe about it. Thank you. Hug your doctor for me, please, for that. Thank you. And I think it's worth noting sometimes to a doctor is like, thank you for being the few in your profession who effing get it.
Right.
Like, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Shannon they told me I'd be in a wheelchair by the time I was 25, and I'm almost 40 and still not in it. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm hitting the gym. Yeah, I've got diabetes now. I've got psoriasis. Woohoo. We're making adaptations, but I'm still moving. Doctors don't know shit.
I stop before I say doctors don't know shit. They know what they have learned about a disease they'll most likely never experience. Through a book and through patient notes and some of this is just repeated over and over and over for decades.
Right.
I will say it's interesting. From volunteering in a hospital, I had this a volunteer tell me that like her and a bunch of the other volunteers for the cancer center had started talking about the fact that they noticed over time that they could tell in one visit whether someone was going to be a cancer survivor or a cancer statistic. And it was literally what their attitude was when they came in for any of their visits, like their first visit, their last visit, and any of the ones in the middle. Like, cancer treatment is hard. Everyone struggles with it. There are some people that start in the beginning going, motherfucker, I'm going to survive this, and they have a high rate of survival. And there are the people that hear the words, you have cancer and need treatment, and they shut down. That's it. It's over. I'm dying.
Right.
They make peace with it, and pretty much they have the exact opposite. If that's where their mind went, that's what they do. Very few of them survive. Very few.
Right. And, My doctor is very good. I interviewed 57. He was and I'm going to be honest, if you've got an autoimmune disorder, if you've got a different type of lifestyle, don't go get you some old doc. Go to the damn universities and get you one of the fresh green ones. That way you can train them. Matter of fact, our last visit, they had one in, and the nurse was like, please train this one. Like, train her now.
Oh, they encouraged us to be so evil to her.
They did.
Like, I felt bad.
I didn't.
But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you got to be your own advocate. If your medication isn't working, say so. If you think you're on too much, change it.
Yeah.
And if your doctor won't agree to it, fire them.
You really have to be your own advocate. You like, I'm not saying fall down a WebMD hole. You can scare the hell out of yourself and think you are dying.
No. Get off of WebMD. Go get you the Journal of Medicine.
I don't even think WebMD is all that bad. Like, I don't think WebMD is bad.
Right.
I think sometimes you can help yourself if you're sitting there and like what your doctor says
right
just doesn't fit.
Right.
Like, they tell you a diagnosis, go look it up on WebMD. It's a great resource.
Right.
And then pay real careful attention to that. And if you find yourself not matching and going, motherfucker, this ain't it.
Right.
Like, I understand, like, maybe you can understand how they got there from here.
Mm-hmm.
And then go back and go, what the hell is this?
Right.
This isn't what I said. Or, okay, I see how you got this from what I said, but this isn't it.
Right.
Like, this isn't me. This is not what I'm going through. Like, we need to revisit this.
Right.
Because sometimes that's the only way you can get the appropriate care. And there are horror stories of misdiagnosis in patients that sit with a misdiagnosis for decades before finally some intervening event, like their doctor moves,
right,
retires to Florida or decides to go whatever, and then someone else looks at them in their chart and talks to the patient and is like, yeah, that ain't right.
Yeah. Which,
like,
we're going to cover this real fast.
Yeah.
You're done, doctor. We got into an argument over it. I threw a bitch fit. And I'm talking table slapping bitch fit.
Oh, God, we had a couple of those over that last one.
No, I'm talking about at the beginning. I'll out his ass, Dr. Long.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I know which doctor. I'm like, but we had a couple of arguments about him. And I was having, issues with him over a few things that were going on. Now, let me preface with, I understand that for patients who are kind of high, you don't have any huge major medical conditions, like, you can see a PA. I get that philosophy. I do.
Right.
Like, you don't need the expert right now. You just need someone to refill your scripts or to make sure that, you're not progressing in any ways on any of the things. And just do general health panels and treat you when you have a cold or treat you for your allergies. And, it's fucking preschool hour.
Right.
Most of my shit was preschool hour, or should have been. Should have been. I had one complaint worth note. And I got told my belt was too tight. And I went, that's interesting. That's interesting. Now, see, if he had said this to me in like 2010, I would have been like, you got a point. I do have to wear a belt every day. And yeah, it's probably tight and whatever. But it's like, Doc, I've spent like 7 years in like t-shirts and shorts. I don't wear belts. Like, the only time I put on a belt is to come here.
Right.
Because I have this thing in my head that when you go to banks and you go to doctors, you should look like you're at least something. They didn't get out of the trash can this morning.
Right.
I don't like ingrained in my head. Like I can be at death's door. I'm throwing on a decent pair of pants and a shirt, a clean shirt. Like it may kill me one day, like it almost did Mom. But before I go to the emergency room, I'm gonna try to look like I didn't fall out of a trash can if I can help it. That said, yeah, he's sitting here telling me that the numbness that I was having in my leg was because my belt was too tight and I'd pinched a nerve. I had to argue with him to get physical therapy. When I got there, they looked at me and said, yeah, that's not your issue.
Yeah. And I looked at you before you went to physical therapy and said, bullshit.
Yeah, I was sitting there just dumbfounded by his idea, but I'm like, okay, whatever this is, one way or another, I think I've got to start at physical therapy before I'm ever going to get diagnostic imaging anyway. So run it. Right. But yeah, first visit, they're like, yeah, that's not your problem.
Right.
It's not your problem.
Right. But no, I lost it. You're like, leave my healthcare alone, and I'm like, bullshit. You're being played for a fool.
Oh, I kept trying to argue in that conversation is I don't agree with him either. But I'm like, either which way I go, this is where it's going to lead.
Right.
So we're already here. He's already ordered it. I don't really need to go to another doctor at this exact moment. Because he's already done what needs to be fundamentally for me to get to medical imaging because shitty insurance at the time.
Right.
What I need to get to medical imaging. So we'll do this. We'll get the medical imaging, and then I can go wherever the fuck I want to and fire his stupid ass. And you were more like, no, you need to fire him now. And I'm like, honestly, I don't really care because I'm already in the diagnostic line, and it's like, just run it.
Right.
And because the worst thing I saw happening is I go back to him one final time.
Right.
And he's like, oh, so you don't need diagnostic imaging. And I go, you're fired.
Yep.
That was my playbook. Is because the worst thing that happens is I have one extra visit with a doctor who's a bit of a dumbass. Who won't listen to patients. And I particularly tried to screen him out before I saw him the first time.
Right.
Because I had a list of things. I literally called his office as a new patient and said,
right,
can this doctor meet this criteria?
Right.
Point blank, I've heard some shit in my time. I'm sick and tired of it. I don't want to hear it.
Right.
We're not doing this.
Right.
Can he reasonably do the following for me?
Right.
I got told yes, he can. He supposedly reviewed what I'd said and the questions I had, and was like, "Yep, we're good to go."
Right.
And the first visit, he did that.
Right.
And then I don't know, somewhere along the way, it just kind of.
Right.
I don't get it.
Again, be your own advocate, do your own research. And make sure you understand your medicines because doctors don't know all of them. All right, guys, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll be finding out if he's an asshole.
Absolutely.
Welcome back, Goblins! My name is Jason, and I am the host of the Esoteric Book Club, a podcast that examines titles on the magical, paranormal, the mysterious, and the strange. I release 2 episodes a month, in which I review books on esoteric topics, recap news of the weird, and conduct interviews with authors, practitioners, and experiencers. The Esoteric Book Club can be found on every major podcast service, or can be streamed directly from esotericbookclub.org.
Hi, I'm Tracy Van. I provide a blended reading consisting of mediumship, psychic, and tarot cards. A reading from me can cover any guidance you need, from relationships with your partner or your family, spiritual, financial, any questions you may need clarity on. If you would like to book an appointment with me, check out my website, tracyvann.com. That's TracyVann.com. I have bookings from 15 to 60 minutes you may choose from. That helps if you just have a quick question, need an answer, or if you're looking for a reading in more depth. I'm here to provide the guidance and clarity for you. Let's just figure it out. Bye.
Hi, Techie Joe here. I work with Aeson and some of the best psychics in West Virginia to create amazing live streams and podcasts for the Psychic Coffee Shop Network. Together, we brew up great content discussing news, events, hot topics, and more, all from a psychic perspective. On the Psychic Coffee Shop, we interview amazing authors in the metaphysical realm. Coffee and Tea combines Aeson with Tracy, Dottie, Natalie, or Lady Gwendolyn for the good and the bad of being a psychic. Shameless Self-Promotion with Dottie the Psychic talks to leading and emerging YouTubers and business owners in our community. Mountain Bears brings you the latest in LGBT news and politics. The Psychic That Plans answers the question of, well, how a psychic plans. Plus, we're live on air. We take your comments and your questions, including psychic advice questions. Check out our amazing programming, book an appointment with top psychics, and find out all the wonderful things we have to offer at pcsbnetwork.com today.
Hi, I'm Aeson. I provide tarot readings covering everything from love and relationships to your life questions and your most spiritual answers. And also, I provide a lot of guidance in finances and divorces and all those relationship problems. So, if you'd like to get a reading from me privately, not on air, you can feel free to do so by visiting aesonnight.com and booking your appointment. I also provide on-demand services, so if your life is a little chaotic, you can go ahead and click that call now button there on my site. Great for a quick answer question. All right, guys, back to the show. Enjoy. Welcome back. All right, are you an asshole?
I don't know. Am I the asshole for reporting my son's good teacher for taking his confiscated phone home with her where it got damaged? Last week, Friday, my son 10 got his phone confiscated at school. He was monkeying around with it during class, and school rules are clear about phone usage during class without permission, so I totally understood. The normal protocol is the phone would go to the office where it'd be returned to the student at the end of the day or the next day. His teacher, however, apparently forgot to stop by the office before going home after school, so she accidentally took it home with her, and through some negligence, the phone broke in the hands of her toddler. Admittedly, she was very upfront about it and even came to our house personally to tell us what happened and apologized, which I respect. She suggested the repayment plan for the phone and offered an old phone of hers for him in the meantime, but it was essentially a brick with a screen. After she left, I sent an email to the school about everything simply because I think it's something the school should also be involved in, since she's a teacher and easily took home a confiscated device, albeit by mistake. Received a response Monday morning apologizing for what happened and promising to address the issue. So my sister-in-law works at the high school, but smokes with the teachers at the junior school, which is where she bumped into this teacher who was pissed and said that we were being assholes reporting it since she already promised to pay for the phone, offered an alternative, and is a good teacher, so we're messing with her career unnecessarily. So yeah, am I the asshole?
And by the way, there is a poll up for this on YouTube. You guys can be voting on that. I'm sorry, I think so. I think that the plan was already handled, situations were already met, things are where they are. And yeah, I think that there is a level of assholeness there of screaming when there's already been a situation handled. And it was an honest mistake.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to give her asshole points for taking it home accidentally. That's not where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
I would think the school would have like policies for not. I mean, like this is kind of an off the wall situation. Like one
Mhm.
accident led to another accident, and then here we are.
Right.
But I think this is a teacher that definitely should have talked to like someone else at the school before she got this far down the rabbit hole.
Right.
And like also been like, look, I made a mistake. This is what occurred. You know, hi.
Right.
What are we supposed to do?
Right.
How do we handle this? You know, is this my responsibility? Like, I will take it as my responsibility. Is this the school's responsibility? Does the school want to get involved? Does school insurance cover this? Like, see what could be done there and let it all come from administration in conjunction with the teacher.
Right.
Because what effectively happened is fundamentally the parent wasn't really satisfied entirely with with what occurred.
Right.
Like, I think she's shitty and kind of an asshole. I don't necessarily think the teacher is an asshole, but I think she went about things in kind of an off way.
Right.
And then, but the level of anger she has now
is a problem.
I understand the frustration, but it's like, what did you think was going to happen?
Right.
Like, I think I would have been expecting this, that, yeah, my boss is going to get a phone call about this. Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
I can understand that. I also think, however, that the teacher should not be talking about it with other staff members because it's confidential, so that gives the teacher asshole points. But if she asshole for taking the phone home and it being broken, how many times that I can count that my nurse's bag had scissors and tape and wound stuff in it? And how many times can I think of my cat getting into my work bag?
Yeah. Like they're like inevitably, like it's not like I have some big belief that everyone's dishonest and everyone's trying to steal from companies, which is kind of the corporate line. That's the small business owner bullshit of like employees always steal and employees are untrustworthy. No, people are forgetful. Days are long. Shit gets forgotten. Stuff gets carried home.
Right.
Accidents happen, especially when you have toddlers.
Yes.
Like it was just a series of unfortunate events.
Right.
I would hope that the school and her, administration is really awesome about this and goes, look, don't do that again. And like, but no, we're not gonna be like crazy about this.
Right.
We're just gonna be like, okay, don't do that again.
Exactly.
Like lesson learned, I'm sure.
I think on all three parts, I hope here. One, the parent for buying a phone that's too expensive in advance for the child. Two, the teacher taking the phone, forgetting it in her work bag or wherever she forgot it. And three, the student for having the phone out when they're not supposed to, or whatever reason the phone was taken.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like there's a lot going on here. I don't think everyone's shitty exactly. I think there's some shit points to be awarded.
Right.
They go around the board.
Right.
But no, I don't think really anyone's the asshole. I would caution, like you did, about like discussing this with other people. Especially since you managed to wander into someone else's enclosure, and you've now like that's not a thing that was not going to get passed backwards.
Right.
Like you obviously did not know who you were talking in front of.
Right. All right. Which, by the way, if you're on Aeson, you can vote in the poll. You know, who's the asshole here or isn't the asshole? Is the poster the asshole? Devin says, no, my sister is a teacher and there is protocol for things like this. She should have reported it to the office. What happened, not what happened, trying to cover her butt by going to these folks' home. She agrees with Joe. And talking bad about a student's family to other teachers is a bad idea. I agree. I
Yeah.
wholeheartedly agree. So
Mhm.
there's an issue there. So, do I think the poster is an asshole? No. But do I think that the teacher is an asshole? No. Do I think this is life and shit happens? Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when we have policies in this country that are so drag or not.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on to poly relationship advice.
Oh, splitting the rent fairly. I, 28 female, am in a closed triad with 30 female, let's call her Lucy, and 31 male, let's call him Tom. Lucy and Tom have been married for 5 years. I met them 3 years ago, and we have been in our closed triad for 2 years. Lucy and Tom purchased a house to save on rental payments. They split the rent 50-50 while Tom covers all other bills. Tom earns significantly more than both Lucy and I combined, like around 3 times what I make, and that's before bonuses. Lucy also makes more than me before bonuses and is on Tom's insurance. I pay out of pocket for insurance as my job does not offer it. I was renting an apartment for around $625 a month in the center of the city. I agree to move in with Lucy and Tom. The location of their house means I now walk an hour to work every day as I do not have a car and buses don't save me much time as they are not regular. They want to split the rent evenly. We would all pay 1/3 each. Tom then asked Lucy and I also contribute $100 extra to pay for utilities. I'm not sure this is fair. I will not receive anything after they sell the house as I am not on their mortgage, and they will have their payment significantly lowered after I start contributing. I also played no part in choosing the house or the area. I have no legal rights to stay there, and although I don't think they would ever kick me out, I do not have any rights if something were to happen to them. I proposed we contribute to rent based on salary and split the utilities equally, or I pay a rent based on similar renting prices in the area, around $475. Has anyone else had this issue or could propose other ways of splitting rent? Am I being unreasonable and should just contribute 1/3? Well, 1/3 plus $100.
Well,
Thanks for your help.
right. So, well, that's just it. 1/3 of the mortgage payment
Mhm.
plus $100. Now we're assuming this mortgage payment is within range.
And I don't know that's even fair.
Yeah.
As in, I don't know that's fair to assume because it sounds like with Tom making 3 times as much as she does,
Mm-hmm.
like Tom and Lucy have pretty significant income.
Right.
Like nothing to sneeze about. They're also receiving the benefits of marriage,
Mm-hmm.
as well as she's
Right.
a tenant, but not a tenant.
Right.
She's an unprotected tenant. She has no lease.
Right.
And no agreement, no arrangement, no future in this home.
Right.
If, like she legitimately points out, something were to happen.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know how to best address this one because there's a lot of moving parts here.
Right. Well, see, and this sounds like a similar situation to ours, except we do ours differently.
Mm-hmm.
How we do ours is we spend my money first, and then everyone else's money helps cover the holes. Much like Tom was doing. Granted, we don't have a mortgage.
No.
We are luckily mortgage free. For now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe not forever, but for now.
For now.
Yeah. And I don't know that's exactly like the best in this situation.
No,
Because
I think
there's some
1/3 is
reasons.
not 1/3 of utilities is equal.
Yeah.
Okay. I think the mortgage payment needs to be seen as the rent payment.
Yeah, I think that's what they're talking about because they own the home, but they don't own the home.
Right.
Yeah.
So it needs to be seen as a rent payment, which is what they are treating it as.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, when you bring another person into your household, the bills go up more than 1/3. Right now, we're looking at about, we just brought someone else into our house. We're looking at about 15 to 18% increase in bills.
Mm-hmm. But I think she brings up a valid point that within their closed triad, the married couple is receiving the benefits of marriage.
Right.
And like she's paying significantly more for health insurance.
Right.
Out of pocket.
Right.
I think that should offset.
Right.
Like, I think that should offset against what she owes on her third of the bills.
Right.
I think that's probably the easiest place to take it.
Right.
And then I think the best I could do for like the rent, the mortgage payment, would be basically for her treat it kind of like rent, but then do it based on like percentage of income.
Right. Exactly. That's when you take your percentages of income, what Tom makes, what Lucy makes, what OP makes. You add it up. Then you add up your bills, and you cross-pollinate them.
So you do pay like 1/3, but it's 1/3 according to your ability to pay.
Exactly.
Like if you have 1/3 the income, then why the hell should you be covering with like 40% of that?
Right.
Your third of the mortgage payment, that for Tom and Lucy, it may only be 10-15% of their income.
Right.
Like, I think like it takes a while to get into that mindset and to really understand that it's like 1/3, but according to ability to pay.
Right.
And like, is this reasonable? Which honestly, if they bought this as a married couple long before they met, then they should have financially been able to afford this on their own.
Right.
So this is just freeing up play money for them, and I don't think that should, or savings money or trip money or whatever money, for each of them, and should not be like a cross to bear, for the OP.
Right.
Like, that's where I'm at with that. Did you put up a poll on that one? See where everyone else is?
Did not put up a poll on that one. I put up a poll on Are You an Asshole?
Okay.
Let me see where that went to. Sorry, guys.
I'm sorry.
Pages are running away today.
Run away! Oh. But no, splitting the rent fairly can be really hard, and it can create a lot of like anger and frustration and confusion, and it's a difficult conversation to really get on the same page.
We don't have any votes in either in the poll.
Okay,
that happens.
Yeah, it happened.
That happens.
But yeah, so no, I think she's on the right track. That this is not the best way to do it.
Right.
I don't know if what she's proposing is reasonable. But I think you have to break it down. Oh, Paula Berlinski, no.
Right.
With your mystical gifts, you must be picking winning lotto numbers left and right. No.
No. We don't play lotto.
Welcome to federal law that says no, he can't. But hi, feel free to enjoy the show, but watch what you say. We will ban you.
Yes, we have no problem banning. But anyhow, no, I think that, when it comes to working out couples' finances, it can be a big sticking point. There's also a sticking point called household stress.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big sticking point in a relationship. When you're the one that feels like you're paying most of the bills,
Mm-hmm.
or you're paying all the bills and the other person isn't meeting equal terms.
Well, but then there's also the stress of being the person who doesn't have as much and is kind of in this like running with the Joneses.
Right.
Which is kind of where it sounds like she's at, is like whatever she does for a living, it's at a level that it's like she's running to catch up, and they're like way overshooting.
Right.
Oh, well, Paula, if you don't like threats, then you should first realize that we're not threatening. We're telling you what the rules for engagement are. And if you want to create a scene, then the rules for that engagement is we don't do that.
Exactly.
So, take a time out there, Paula, and we'll see how this goes for you later.
Yeah. Especially when you come in with an insulting comment. We don't have that in our chat. We don't play that in our chat.
Nope.
No, not going to do that. All right. So, since, it's been kind of quiet on our comments, most of them do the split that we were talking about, finding out your percentages, and it takes a little math.
Oh, yeah. It's like, it's really the whole Google suite in Poly that you get to play with a lot. The whole, like it's not just Google Calendar. You got to play in Sheets some as well.
Yeah,
and
Google
start
Docs.
understanding incomes.
Yeah, and being honest about your incomes. And making financial choices for your own income.
Yeah.
And no, I don't threaten. I deliver.
Pro commenter man. Oh, you just drew the gay card on Joe? Oh, wow. I mean, like you're on a show called Mountain Bears, which is an LGBTQ show on Fridays.
Yeah.
I don't know how you could possibly think.
Right.
Yeah, no, Aeson doesn't threaten. Yeah. Oh, bye, pro commenter.
Yeah, bye, pro commenter. Try again. I don't threaten, I deliver. I have no problem blocking people.
Yeah. And see, this happens every time we do an episode in which we say the words trans. Like, we're not trans, and we get bullshit because we dare talk about the subject.
Right. Or we lose a stream. That's how we lost
LinkedIn,
and I don't care.
We've done good. Like, we've gotten all the way through this without errors. I'm, like, thrilled. Like, we are almost to the finish line.
I would think they would consider her income, and they should consider her income. But in normal dating relationships, you have to consider the incomes.
I don't know why for some poly, but then again, it's always that brings in a third. It's that triad that seems to really struggle with the whole equality concept of like, okay, we need to rebalance this. Is like, this is what we're doing and this is what we've done, the two of us. And then they just kind of try to bring in the third, like they're a roommate, and like their income is like insignificant to the equation. It's just like, this is the deal you have to that you signed up for. Yeah.
I feel like the third.
Oh no, they're not considering her income at all.
Right. They're looking at it as a roommate situation because it's the easiest way to divorce the relationship with money. And that's a big problem in relationships, is you divorce the thought of money. You don't want to talk about money. You're so shameful about money, especially if it doesn't stack up. I mean, some of our worst conversations in this household is budget.
Well, I think that's for any relationship.
Right.
Like, I don't care who you are. Like, you can create more enemies talking about a damn budget. Like, I mean, cookie baking grandmas at a hospital volunteer organization meeting talking about budgets can become vicious.
Right. And see,
And that's
that's
not an
why,
insult to them. This isn't me spilling some tea. I'm just saying it's everybody.
right. That's why I always vouch that, let's say that you're in a relationship that does not have the benefit of marriage. Then you first need to have a savings account, and a percentage of every paycheck in that in that relationship goes into that savings account that's your name only.
Yes. Yes, you should.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I've always been a huge fan of yours, mine, and ours.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that with 3 people too.
Mm-hmm.
Yours, mine, hers, and ours. Yours,
Mm-hmm.
mine, his, and ours. Yours, mine, theirs, and ours.
Mm-hmm.
It's just 4 accounts instead of 3.
Right.
Or 5, like on and on and on.
Right.
Because there's one account where you do have to pull together the money to pay the bills.
Exactly.
And then there's your accounts,
Right.
their accounts,
Mm-hmm.
and that other person's accounts.
Well, and then my other thoughts is you don't just run out and get you don't run out and get an LLC, you don't run out and get joint checking accounts. You take time for that relationship to build.
Yeah. I will say that's a big thing that people strangely rush into.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, it doesn't, like, there are people that really don't feel like they're in any kind of relationship whatsoever until there's like a joint account.
Right. And
so they'll be like a month in and suddenly they've got a joint account.
Yeah. No, it took us 5 years to get joint accounts.
4.
Sorry, 4.
Yeah. 4 years.
Yeah.
And even then, I think we were both a little like, okay, we'll see how this goes.
Well, even then, I was like, okay. And it took you forever. Hell, just recently, you just remembered you had a PayPal card. I'm like,
yeah, well, because like it was one of those things that like you got it for me, and I was like, yeah, I'm not using that, and I just stuck it in my wallet and went, okay, in case of emergencies, in case. And I forgot it was there. I thought I had gotten a replacement for my personal PayPal account.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I'd gotten a card replacement. So somewhere along the way, I think I threw out my personal PayPal card. Because I can't find it.
Possibly, but at the same time, I was like, it was when because I kept seeing charges on my PayPal. And I'm like, okay, big woohoo, adjust my balance book, move the hell on.
I think we did set it up for something somewhere along the way, or you asked me to use it for something. And it didn't really dawn on me to like remember that.
Right. No, there were certain charges, and it's like he would say he spent his money, and I'm like, cool. And I come in and do my morning accounting because, I'm in every morning, spent $20 in gas, $30 on food, whatever. Flip the page. Okay, PayPal spent $18 Second Life. And I was no big deal about it. He about had a damn heart attack when he remembered he had the card.
Yeah, because I was... yeah, because I made this purchase, and for the first time, it was this moment of, like, I wanted to see the charge had gone through because this website sucked. And I was like, did the charge actually go through? Like, this is the shittiest website I've been on. Did the charge go through? Did it go through for the right amount? Did it blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And so I went to look at my personal PayPal account, which had, money in it to pay for this charge. And there was no transaction. And I went, that's weird. That's really weird. And I was like, what did I do? So I hurriedly and frantically went over to my business account going, did I somehow get a replacement for my business card? No transaction. And thin blue sky from the middle of nowhere in the back of my brain went, he did get you a card on his account at one point. And I went, oh no. Oh God, please no. And I was like, honey, can you go check your PayPal account? I think I really screwed up a lot of things to get to this point. And sure enough, there's the charge. You're like, yep, it went through.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, no. Because I still have not found my personal PayPal. Because I have a personal PayPal account and I have a PayPal account for the business. And I thought this was my personal account's replacement card. So I don't even know if I looked at the date on the old one before destroying it, trashing it, or putting it wherever. And just assumed this was it. So yeah, I've probably used it a couple of times thinking I'm using my PayPal balance. And it also explains why a couple of times I've looked at my PayPal balance, my personal, because I don't check it all the time.
Right.
Because I usually just put money in long enough to do whatever I need to do. And he says he doesn't get messages. Apparently, it is low balance warning, wrong account. But yeah, no, I did. It just like a bolt of lightning went through my head. And I'm like, I hadn't even thought about that since the damn day he handed it to me. And I went, yeah, I'll never use that.
Wrong.
Whatever, I'll put it in my wallet.
Exactly. All right, guys, just a reminder, tomorrow is Psychic Saturday, where I do my once-a-month special of $20 for 15 minutes. Be sure to book your appointments. And join us tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, and let's be looking at the energy for November and see what your astrological forecast for that month is. It'll be a great time. And, of course, Techie Joe will be here leading me down the path, because as I get reading, I get lost in which zodiac we're in. So with that, we want to wish you a good night. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, let's get ready to take it away, Vanna.
Yes, Vanna, how about you hopping away with it? And why don't you talk about some of the benefits while you're at it?
Oh, I never have the benefits up in front of me. You talk about the benefits. I read names.
Well, they get exclusive content. And, of course, Patreon today released Patreon video. So you guys will be getting more video content from me. You get discounts on readings. You get a magazine that out for you each month, and then different levels has different things. Whether it's a background or an angel reading, which for angel readings, make sure to prompt me. And of course, if you're in a business and you'd like to become a corporate sponsor, you get a commercial.
You do?
I do. And we want to thank those doing one, and I want to thank our new Patreon. To join this month, and we've got update the streams and the media that'll be going on this month, and that's Captain Bell. Thank you for supporting us. We want to thank our long-term Patreon supporters that have been going with us for a while now. Take it away, Vanna.
Of course, we want to thank Beverly Walker, Mika G, Kathy, Mary Winfield, Brenda Bryan, Ashley Guest, Shannon C, Shannon D, Lady Gwendolyn, Charles Shaw, Dottie the Psychic, Tracy Van, Donna White, and the Laughing Tree Grove. If you'd like to learn more about us, the show, or how you too can become one of our Patreon sponsors and receive all the wonderful benefits our baristas receive, please visit us at pcspnetwork.com.
Yes. All right, guys, you have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.
Good night.